Happy that everybody made it. Happy to see everybody here this morning. You could have been anywhere and you chose to come to this conference on privatization and charter schools. I'm Kristyn Jones and I'm a teacher, third grade, and I'm with United Teachers of Richmond. And so last year, the NEA convention was in Washington, D.C., and I was there representing United Teachers of Richmond. I was one of the delegates that was elected to go. And at the NEA convention last year in D.C., there were so many delegates who were angry about the charter school issue. And so a lot of people were presenting resolutions to try to contain or get a handle, to try to get NEA to contain the charter school issue. So at the NEA conference, they're called new business items. And we're trying to get NEA to take a certain action. So delegates present new business items. And delegates also try and change NEA policy through policy amendments. So it's a huge room full of like 7,000 to 10,000 teachers. And if you like Robert's Rules of Order, then you would love an NEA convention. If you don't, you might not like it so much. So last year, like I said, there's a lot of upheaval, a lot of action around charter schools. There were probably over 24 new business items trying to get a handle on charter schools. Well, the president of NEA, Lily Escalon Garcia, did something very smart. She decided to send them all to committee. So that was sort of her way of saying, we'll deal with this next year. So, in fact, at the NEA convention in Boston that I was at last month, the NEA looked at all those resolutions, all those new business items that they had sent to committee the previous year, and they presented their policy on charter schools. So the NEA has a new policy on charter schools, and they had a year to look at the new business items in DC and come up with a new policy. They commissioned 17 people for their charter school task force, including Dr. Julian Vasquez-Helig. Some of you might have seen him present at this conference last year, including CTA President Eric Hines and a number of other people. So it's about a 40-page document, and the first half of the document talks about the problem with charter schools. And I think the research is excellent. They really did a thorough job researching the problems with charter schools. Both public and private charter schools, NEA has discovered, are a failed educational experiment. They're costing districts, billions of dollars. They're they're resegregating students. They're not serving special education students. So right on NEA, the research is great. But then their solution, their proposed solution is not so great. I don't know if you've ever read a book where the research is great, but the solution isn't so great. I don't know if you've read Michelle Alexander's The New Jim Crow, but that's kind of similar. Her analysis is good, but her solution, I don't think, is exactly right on. So anyway, their solution, like Carlos alluded to, is basically just to reform the charter schools. And so there's a number of criteria that NEA has put forth that they say represents a good charter school and a charter school that they will support. And one of the criteria is the charter school cannot be negatively impacting what they call traditional public school. The charter school has to do a racial impact analysis before they can get approved. This is NEA's suggestions. And that all sounds good. But the problem is, I think NEA concedes that charter schools are public schools. And so that's a big concession because charter schools are not public schools. And also, they concede that there's some kind of difference between so-called good public schools and good charter schools and bad charter schools. And in my opinion, there aren't any good charter schools. They're all bad. But NEA seems to take a lot of effort to distinguish the good versus the bad charter schools. And so they've created this huge space for the idea that charter schools are public schools. So that's what I see as the bad side of the policy. So the good part of the policy is they are I guess, attempting to call on charter school reform. So I suppose that's good. But then I said the bad part is they concede the idea that charter schools are public schools. Another problem that I have with the NEA policy on charter schools is that they firmly are committed to unionizing charter school teachers, both the good charter schools and the bad charter schools. And in fact, Eric Hines got up and gave a very impassioned speech on the floor of the NEA, declaring the right to unionize our charter school brothers and sisters. It was like almost like a mission. It almost reminded you of like a speech maybe from the 1800s or something. And he was really passionate. We must, rescue our charter school brothers and sisters, especially the ones who are at the bad charter schools. And so I thought, to me, this could possibly represent a conflict of interest. If the union is spending all this time trying to unionize charter school teachers, how are they going to fight charter schools? It seems like it's going in opposing directions. And then also, I feel like it could be like a Trojan horse, letting in these charter school teachers, letting in the privatizers into our most prized, institution, our union. But other people have said, no, the union's going to influence them. We're going to get, these charter school teachers straight.